Our guest today. I'm very excited about this. This is Dr. Noor Syed. She's joining us right now on our new platform. She's an educator, assistant professor of applied behavior analysis, ABA, which we talk a little bit about here on the show. She's a clinical coordinator and founding director for, drumroll, the Center for Autism Inclusivity. And we're very excited that she's joining us from SUNY Empire State College. So, Dr. Syed, are you there with us? New platform. There she is. Hello.
Hello.
I am so excited that you're here. I've been so looking forward to this interview. I'm like emotional and Twitter pated about it, but I'm so excited that you're here. So welcome, first of all. And for people who aren't familiar with your college or your program, tell us what it is that you're doing and what your hopes are.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And I was smiling ear to ear when you were going over the jargon of the day and all the amazing things that you were saying. It's my privilege. And I'm a certified general and special education teacher as well. And I taught in the classroom for 10 plus years, and it was the best time of my life. And so I'm so grateful to have parents like you who make the job worthwhile just behind the kids. They're the only ones that make it a little bit more worthwhile. So I'm very, very grateful to you for having me here.
Well, I'm grateful to you because you're about to do something that is amazing. So tell us what it is you're doing.
So we are doing we have a set of goals, missions, visions, and values is the way I think of the Center for Autism Inclusivity and the ABA program. So SUNY Empire State College is embarking upon this really exciting endeavor of starting a Center for Autism Inclusivity that's going to be based on research and will really seek to add to the workforce of professionals who are compassionate, that use behavior analytic principles. We are really hoping to make resources low cost or free for families in ways that are accessible. And one of the things I'm super excited about is that our initiative that we've just embarked upon this year is really seeking to make SUNY Empire State College an autism supportive community. And so that is just thrilling because we know that there are programs that exist and there are great pathways that you can consider. But what I think is really unique about SUNY Empire is that it's not a pathway that we're looking at per se. It is really taking an assessment of the college as a whole, undergraduate and graduate, and figuring out what supports should really be in place for students who identify as neurotypical, identify as autistic. And to do that, we're really reaching out to the students. We're reaching out to those who are autistic because they are the experts. They know what they need to be successful, and I'm here to listen and do the best I can to implement it. And then right alongside with that is we're planning to launch an ABA program fall of 2021. And I'm so excited about this. I know you and I talked quite a bit about those when we chatted earlier. What we're really looking to do there in that ABA program is, one, to make it accessible for those who work full time, have families who can't necessarily be in a classroom for 3 hours, but still get a robust, wonderful program. We're looking to make it as cost effective as possible. So really meaningfully thinking about scholarships, textbook costs, all of the things that go into being a student. And then finally, I think what is so dear to my heart is that we're really thinking about ways to embed compassion throughout the entire program. So we talked about IDEA, and it's amazing how many behavior analysts aren't fluent in IDEA or any of their subparts, the free and appropriate education, etc. And it's really, the onus is on us as educators to teach our students who are coming up in the field about compassion, cultural humility, and sustainability so that it can be pervasive throughout everything that they do.
Yeah, I'm so excited that there are individuals such as yourself who are looking at this in the way that you're looking at it. For so long, I think back to the pioneers of parents who started having their kids do ABA and what the things that they went through. And it feels like we've gone through all these different phases. But when my son was getting ABA and getting great quality ABA, we were so lucky because we had funding through the state of California. And a lot of families didn't have that. And all we prayed for was insurance. Could insurance please cover ABA so that more people could have access? Well, now I can't even believe in my lifetime that we have that. But then the next issue was that as all these people needed trained professionals, board certified behavior analysts, and therapists to come in and be on their team, it became apparent that there aren't enough good training programs. And I would go so far as to say not enough good training programs that are reminding people that while you're using a science, you're using a science on living, breathing people. And they need to be seen as whole individuals that have individual passions and individual ways of looking at things that aren't wrong. But while they're looking at things this way, they need to find a pathway to get done the things that they want to do in this world that doesn't see things their way. And I love, even you're starting with the title and saying inclusivity. So talk a little bit about, because I know that this is a passion of yours, about that looking at individuals as individuals and being humane, and talk a little bit about what else you've got going on there.
Oh, absolutely. So I think you speak to that so well, right? The importance of seeing people as individuals. And I think something that I hear a lot from my students and from those with whom we work is, this idea that we're trying to normalize people who are with autism, and I want to be very inclusive with the language, those who identify and say, I'm not a person with autism, I am autistic, I'm an autistic individual. And so it's really important for us to be aware of, when we think about behavior change programs, that we're not thinking about these programs to benefit ourselves. We're thinking about what does the client want? What is the family looking for? What resources are available in the environment? And what is really the goal of it? Are we, if we're saying like vocal self-stimulatory behavior and we're thinking, oh, we want to decrease that to 0 levels. Is it because it's dangerous? Or is it because, someone might see that and think, oh, I don't understand what's happening. That's a really fine distinction that we have to be aware of, because if it's not dangerous and it's not harmful and it's preferred, then we need to work together to figure out what would this behavior change program be, if it even needs to be a program. And so to that end, we're starting to do research, and I've had interviews with students in college who are autistic, who identify as autistic, students who are hoping to go to college, who have finished college, and caregivers of parents, or caregivers who have children who hope to go to college. And, just these one-on-one interviews so they're comfortable, it's a safe space. And I really say, what can we do to support your child to go to school, to support you to go to school? And if you could have this perfect college setting, what would it look like? Because we're going to use that to drive what we'll do. We'll take baseline assessments, from everything to registering and getting financial aid to interacting with your mentor. Is that an easy process? If not, how can we make it easier, right? How can we streamline it, which would help everybody? We want to set up where we're planning to execute a peer mentorship program by fall of 2021, so that there is opportunity to socialize. And we also are going to really have a social kind of group where people can just have a safe space to interact with one another. And trying to get ready for the workforce too, job interview skills, workplace skills. Those are all things that we are launching, as we speak, which is, there's so many balls in the air, but it's all necessary, because it's not enough for me to just think, okay, we'll take care of the onboarding process and then that our work is done. No, we really want to make this a place where someone says, I'm so proud to go to SUNY Empire. They embrace me for who I am. And I've heard about this ABA program, and I sat in on a class, and, they're talking about autism, like about people, not exactly as you say, not just as science. They're talking about the humans in human services. And that is something that we are so dedicated to.
Well, it's so needed. Let's be honest. It's something truly epically needed in our environment. So you're starting, I love the fact that you're starting with the entire college and you're looking at the entire college environment and making it inclusive so that anyone can go through any of your programs. But then you are really creating an ABA program starting next fall, where people can learn ABA. And is it ABA for autism or ABA in general at the college?
So that is a fantastic question. I will say that in New York State, your audience is probably aware of this, particularly those from New York. It is the only state in the United States of America that has a really strict scope of practice in that in that licensed behavior analysts and board certified behavior analysts are legally only allowed to work with people medically diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. And that's incredibly problematic because we know ABA is not just a therapy for autism, it's in everything that we do. It's literally the reason why we stop at a red light and we go at a green light. You know, it's pervasive in our everyday lives. So we are really trying hard to lobby so that we can change this scope. That being said, to become a master's program that bears licensure, there is a very heavy emphasis on autism because it's required by New York State. But me being me and working with the amazing, colleagues that I am, we're embedding in there robust experiences so that someone can understand that this is applied behavior analysis in organizations. This is an understanding of how to train animals using applied behavior analysis, because it wouldn't be fair to our students, I think, to just have one exposure. As you talk about, it wouldn't be a well-rounded practitioner or clinician. So while we are bound by some of the state regulations, we are making and putting those in there so that people can really see ABA comprehensively.
And I got to say, you know, we got to get to some legislators in the state of New York, because what's ironic is that we're always trying to explain to people on the show that ABA is not just for autism, because I think that families, when you have a kiddo on the autism spectrum, that's how you get introduced to ABA and you go, oh, ABA is an autism treatment. Well, the truth of the matter is that ABA, I would say that because I've been to some of the ABA conferences, and it's maybe now about 50% autism and 50% is in businesses and in real life and Olympic athletes. The principles of ABA are used in nursing homes. They're used in there are factories that use the principles of ABA to try to make an environment in which their employees feel better and are more productive as a result of them. So now in 2020, we're cresting about 50% of the field is about autism. And I expect that it will just grow because it happens to be wildly successful with individuals with autism. But it's not without some controversy. We should say that there are people, and this was brought up on our show yesterday, there are a lot of self-advocates, people who identify themselves as self-advocates who are not fans of ABA. I don't know how you feel about this, Dr. Syed. I always stand by everybody gets to tell their story and to have their say and to say whatever they need to say with what their experience is. I'm always trying to remind people that all ABA experiences are not the same, and that a good quality ABA program looks absolutely nothing like some of the things that are being put out there as ABA right now. And my challenge to self-advocates always is, I hear what you're saying. I see what you're saying. I'm not trying to take away your experience, but I'd like to expose you to good quality ABA so that you can judge based on that. Because if all you've ever seen is bad ABA, I don't think anybody would want it. But I've been there front row center to see what great quality ABA looks like. And it is amazing. Changed my son's life, changed my life. And I've watched it change so many other people's lives and it did not change who my son was. What I always say is that it was like he was running on a track and other people were running around the track with no problem. And my son had like 13 hurdles in front of him that were not of interest to him. He wanted to get someplace, and those 13 hurdles were just making it harder for him. And what ABA did was say, oh, we can move this one out of the way for you. You can run around this one. You can totally bypass this one if you choose. so that my son could run his own race, his individual race. So I'm a huge fan of ABA, but I always support and acknowledge that there are individuals who had a negative experience with badly done, unethical ABA. That's what I have to say. Anything you want to add to that? I don't mean to put you on the spot, Dr. Syed.
No, not at all. I think that you spoke to that so eloquently. And I would just add that I think that there is exactly as you say, there's bad ABA. And those who feel like their experiences with applied behavior analysis have been negative, I respect that wholeheartedly because they probably were. And I think that, your idea of seeing what good ABA is really critical. I think what I have to say, I think there's an impetus here for us as behavior analysts because to really, that compassion piece to reach out and say, tell me what I'm doing wrong. And that's something that I've been starting to do. I've been trying to, connect with self advocates. And there are some who don't feel comfortable in speaking with me, and I respect that. I'll ask that anybody who feels comfortable speaking with me, please do, because I want to know what we're doing wrong so that we can fix it. And I want to bring those findings to the ABA community because I have to say that while this might be a bit of a controversial opinion on my end, I don't think we've done enough at all as an ABA field. That we just started talking about compassion and cultural humility in the past few years. And I'm glad we're talking about it now, but I think that it's so much a part of what we do. And, person-centered supports, that needs to be language that we use all the time. So what we need to do a much better job, and I can already see, is saying, what do you care about? What's important to you? And please, please tell us. I just have to kind of say, I'm really pleading here. I want to know what we're doing wrong because I want to help be part of the group that fixes it. Because there is rote, rigid, restrictive ABA that we don't want to see. And then there's a progressive applied behavior analysis, which is, seeing people as individuals, which is actually what I have to say, which is what ABA should have always been. And that really, I think, is, except that some, as you mentioned, are not trained as well, some professionals. So working with the individual, moment to moment decisions, saying, if you don't like this, let's change it. Eye contact, it's not everybody needs to make eye contact. In some cultures, it's rude to actually do that. So let's work together and to figure out how we can help you be successful, because we need to create this culture of feedback and this culture of seeking out what we don't know. And that's where we are.
Yeah, I'm always trying to tell people that for me, they always want ABA consolidated down. And I say, imagine it's the best teaching tool, right? And it rewards you for learning. And as a former teacher, and I think once a teacher, always a teacher, I think it's important to teach people skills, but it isn't essential that you're not going to take every skill that somebody teaches you and turn that into how you live your life, right? But when you learn, you have choices. So it's always interesting to me when somebody will say, well, I'm not going to force my child to speak. I don't, some people communicate without speaking, and, since it didn't develop naturally, we're not going to force it. And while I completely agree that no one should be forced to do anything, I always like to go back to when our children learned how to walk and they stumbled and sometimes they hit their head and they got frustrated and it was hard. But we knew that with some practice that they eventually, and they may have even have been like, I don't like this because I hit my head, but with some practice that they would gain a skill that they would use the rest of their life at their choice, at their will, that we weren't forcing them to do. And most of us, had a moment when our kids fell and hurt themselves where we were like, oh no, how is this going to go? And had emotions and feelings about it. But we didn't say, that's it. We're going to stop the learning. We didn't say, go ahead, bring in the wheelchair. We're giving up on this because we're going to stop the learning because the learning is frustrating. And we haven't done that with a whole bunch of other things. So I'm a fan of of teaching and having teaching be compassionate and rewarding and not forceful and not punitive, but allowing for skills to develop and then letting them choose which skills that they want to use. My son, at a certain point, I remember being at a birthday party with him, and he was trying so hard to connect with the other kids at the birthday party. And he gained a lot of skills, and he was trying so hard to get them to play with them. And there was just a couple of things that he didn't understand socially, so he couldn't quite connect. And I remember him laying on the floor in the foyer of the house that we were in and sobbing and saying, what do I have to do to get them to play with me? And we were able to go back to our ABA team the very next day and say, here's what happened. And within 2 weeks, they had said to him, oh, well, for other people, they see things this way, and teach him that perspective taking. He was like, oh, that's all I had to do to be able to play with these people. Changed his life. Now, he had an understanding in that moment that the thing that was important to those kids wasn't necessarily important to him, but what was important to him was that he could connect with them, and that he now understood their language and said, oh, when I want to, I can switch on this skill to connect with this person. And to me, that's inclusivity. If we could only teach that to everybody, what would the world look like? So that's where I'm coming from with the ABA. And I think that what you have said both here and in our previous conversation about how you want to have people be mindful and compassionate and be looking at this from all different perspectives is very exciting. So let's talk about this. When is it open for people to start applying to your program?
So that is a great question. We're hoping to launch fall of 2021. So for the ABA program, it would be registering next spring and next summer. So I encourage, if anybody has questions, to contact me. Please do. I'm happy to share more about the program. And yes, please sign up for it, because I think that I do believe that it'll be unique in that, one, it's going to be fully asynchronous. That's what we're planning to do, but to do it again super meaningfully, so that you're having a really robust discussion with me, with your colleagues, except we're doing it via video. So it's on your own time. You can record it at midnight after you do the remote learning for the kids, help them with their homework, put them to bed. So I ask that, we really take that leap. If you're feeling like, I don't have time to do this, we will work with you to make it, really match your schedule. And then the center, please reach out to me, now. While we're still a set of initiatives, we do hope to have a brick and mortar, and then we hope to start putting these supports in place spring of this coming school year, which is spring of 2021. So while it'll be a bit tiered, right, we wouldn't be able to change the whole college at once. We're going to do step 1, step 2, step 3, so that we're going to start to see a change in the college, and it's in the way it supports and embraces students who are autistic or who identify as neurodiverse.
And so we have a question about, so the center, will it just be for students that are at the college, or are you going to be treating kids as well? What's going to happen at the center?
Yeah, that's a great question. So right now, the center will be focusing on kids at the college, but we are already in conversation with the Anderson Center for Autism, which is located in Plattsburgh, New York, to open up a clinic. Two, we are working hand in hand with Anderson Center to really start to create practicum opportunities for students who go into the master's program and now need to have the applied experience. But to do that, again, in a way that embraces compassion, embraces sustainability, so that you don't feel like when you leave the program, okay, I'm done, I'm supposed to sit for my BCBA, but I don't know how to supervise, I don't know how to mentor. We're going to embed in their mentorship opportunities, the ability to guide others, so that you feel empowered when you leave, to start to be a little bit more independent. And so when children too are looking to kind of be part of the center, I invite you to contact me, because we have these great partners such as Anderson. And through that, we want to start that clinic again and do amazing research to see if what we're doing is working. But to just hone this point in, I know I'm talking a lot about it, compassionate applied research. If it's research that doesn't make the lives of the children better, then it's probably not research that we're going to engage in. And that research has a place in behavior analysis, and I respect it so very much. And I thank it for all its contributions. This will be different. This is very much the top priority will always be social significance. And like in the classroom, can the teachers actually do this strategy so that it doesn't break down, that gap between research and practice? It's really, this worked for me and it made a difference in my classroom, and then it made a difference with your children. So please kind of jump on board because we'd love to have you.
And someone else is asking, can anyone nationwide do this program? I want to recommend this to some friends that are educators.
Yes, anyone nationwide can do it. Thank you so much for that comment. I appreciate it. Because it is asynchronous, we are building it so that anybody around the nation can do it. And I'll work with you, right? So if something is due midnight Eastern Standard Time and you need it midnight Pacific Time, that's absolutely okay. And I've had students reach out and say, I'm the single parent and can I do this? Absolutely. And I think too, with it building asynchronous and with a focus on cultural humility, we also hope that it reaches individuals from around the world, because I do a lot of work internationally, so that you're building a community when you're in the classroom of people that are from the United States, but also hopefully around the world, again, to really build a robust, comprehensive, compassionate knowledge of our work.
And when they complete this program, what is the actual degree?
The degree is a Master of Science in Applied Behavior Analysis, and then you are eligible to sit for the New York State licensure exam in behavior analysis, as well as the international certification to become a board certified behavior analyst. Now that certification does change in 2023. The board is no longer certifying people outside of the United States and Canada, but it still will set you up for success for other types of certifications that one can take. And I'm happy to talk our students through that, as well as even really help the students, if they're from a different country, figure out how they can take these principles and utilize those in their countries.
And is it a 4-year program, a 5-year program, or do you design it yourself because it's asynchronous?
That's a fantastic question. So we do want you to go through with a cohort, ideally, because I think one of the most important things about the work that we do is that you build a community of others that you can collaborate with and bounce ideas off of. So there are specific semesters in which classes are offered. That's not to say that, if something happens and you need to kind of take a semester off and come back, we'll welcome you back, but just something to be sort of mindful of. The fastest that you can do it, if you are, full-time, all in, and just have the capacity to do that, would be 1.5 years. We anticipate more students to be part-time because, like ourselves, they work full-time and they have families, other obligations. And so that it might be 2.5 years with summer semesters as well. So we'll work with you to make the schedule be accessible for you, but know that, you can really finish it as quickly as 1.5 years, or if you take a little longer, that's okay too.
And you're a part of the SUNY system. For people who don't know what that is, take a second to tell them I'm a product of the SUNY system. Explain to them what that is.
It is full circle for me too. I'm also a product of the SUNY system. My undergraduate was an ABA with Dr. Romanchik at SUNY Binghamton. So it's so exciting to kind of be this full circle. It is the State University of New York. So it's public schools within New York State. What's exciting about that is that if you are in New York State, the cost is lower. But even if you're out of state, I would venture to say it's one of the more affordable options versus, let's say, a private school where the costs can be a bit different. So that's something that's super exciting about it. And what I think is great too is that you have SUNY Empire, but all the SUNYs work together quite often. So if you decide SUNY is not a fit, or SUNY Binghamton may be not a fit, or SUNY Empire is not a fit, that is okay. We will work with you to find a place within the SUNY system that you feel will work for you.
Which is amazing. My dad worked for the SUNY system, so I really am a SUNY brat. And then I went to SUNY Oswego, State University of New York at Oswego, and eventually went back and taught there. So I really am a SUNYite. But I don't live in New York anymore. I couldn't hang with the winters. I don't know how you guys do the winters. It's crazy up there. But Saratoga is beautiful. And we do need to say that where this center is going to be is in a very specific place. Tell them where it is in Saratoga.
So actually, so the right now, because we're not a brick and mortar yet, we're set of goals, but we do hope to have a brick and mortar in Saratoga Springs on the main campus of SUNY. I actually, given kind of all the challenges that are happening right now around the world, we're all remote for the fall. So I'm not actually in Saratoga Springs
Oh, how about that?
at this time, but we hope to be there, when it's safe to do that. But it'll be in Saratoga Springs. The clinic that we're hoping to launch with Anderson Center for Autism will also be further north because there's a huge need for services. A lot of the services are located primarily downstate, like New York City. So that will be around Plattsburgh. That will be a little bit closer to Saratoga Springs. And what's great about our partner, let's say Anderson Center, they do have services located all throughout northern New York.
Well, wonderful. But, really totally in my stomping ground, my old stomping ground. So at some point when all this COVID mess is over, I'm going to come and visit you when you have your whole brick and mortar and see what you're doing, because I think it's remarkable. We're so excited for you. Where should they go if they want more information?
Please email, you can email me. It's noor.syed@esc.edu. I will answer all the questions that you might have. And if I can't, I will direct you to the person that can. We do have a Center for Autism Inclusivity website that they can access through SUNY Empire's website. But I think for more specific information, I'm really happy to help. And I'm happy to chat with you about the program, about our expectations, and hear your thoughts and your feedback. Because again, we really want to incorporate it with your perceptions of what you're looking for your children and for yourselves if you're planning to go to school.
And give your email again one more time, but slower, because people now have their pens ready. Go ahead.
Oh, absolutely. It's noor.syed@esc.edu.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being with us, and we applaud you for what you're doing. We just need more of this. And I can't wait until people graduate from your program and go out into the field and bring this mindfulness, compassion, and really looking at individuals as individuals. That's a very exciting, we need more of that. We just need more of that.
Thank you
So
so
thank you
much,
so much.
Shannon.
All right,
It's
you
been
take
my
care.
pleasure. You too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Hey, thanks for watching Autism Live. To subscribe, click here. And if you'd like to check out some more of our videos, click here.